Hey, welcome to Worship Tutorials. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play Who Else by Gateway Worship on electric guitar. So we're going to do it like, I like the live version on the Gateway album. It's my favorite version of this song. It's a female-led vocal on that version. We've been doing this a lot at my church. So on the album, it's in the key of A flat. We often do it in the key of G. But I'll teach it in A flat, so it'll be the same as the album. And to do this, I'm going to use a capo on the first fret. Really, this only affects one part of the song where you're playing some open chords. And in that section, with a capo on the first fret, when you're playing in A flat, you would play key of G chords. They would be up 1/2 step, so A flat or G sharp, but we call it A flat. The rest of the song is really just going to be showing you parts, and if you want to play this like in the key of G, just move them all down 1 fret. Super easy to do. And actually this song is pretty simple. There's only a few parts in it. If you want to watch the full playthrough of this video, if that's easier for you to learn that way, that'll be linked below where you can just see me play the song start to finish. We have song presets available for this as well if you're interested in that for Line 6 Helix and Fractal devices. Real quick, the gear I'm using, this is a Shelton GalaxyFlite Lambertones Ristretto pickups. For the playthrough and this tutorial, I'm running the pedalboard into dual TONEX pedals in stereo, 94 matchless C30 capture on the left, and a matchless Chieftain capture on the right. You could do a lot worse than that setup. That's my favorite amp setup, so that's what we're using. All right. You don't come in till the first chorus. If you'd like, you can play some swells or really ambient stuff in the first verse. The first chorus, though, that's the Who Else Is Worthy. You're going to play this little riff that is repeated over and over throughout this song. Now to play this part, we're going to come back to this shape, this position, quite a bit in this song, because this part repeats itself over and over. We're going to play a D shape on the 8, 9, and 8 frets of the G, B, and E strings. So right there, that forms our A flat chord. And the reason that you know that's an A flat is because the B string is the root of this chord. So if you're playing a D way down here, right, that is a D right there. If you move this up to the 9th fret on the B string, we've got an A flat. That's an A flat. So we're gonna kind of hang out right here. Now I like to use my middle finger on the 9th fret of the B string and hammer on to the 11th fret and then pull back off to the 9th, and that gets you this. Okay, so that's that first part of that part. And then we're going to drop down to the 8th fret of the G string and then slide that down to the 6th fret and then go to the 5th. So it's really 2 parts that make up this part that plays during the chorus. There's part 1, there's part 2. Okay, so I'll play it very slowly for you and put it all together. 2, 3, 4. Once we've played that through 3 times, on the 4th one, it plays a little something different. So the first part will be the same. The second part is you're going to stay on this B string, slide it up to the 14th fret of the B string, and then go back to the 13th. And you'll end up here, if you make this little bar chord on the D, G, and B strings, on the 13th fret, that again forms an A flat. This time the root is on the G string on the 13th fret. You know that's pretty easy to find because everything repeats itself on the 12, so this is G, A flat. Okay? So putting it all together, we've got 3 that go da-na-na-na-na-na, and then 1 that goes da-na-na-na-na-na. I'll play it for you kind of slowly so you can see how it all fits together. 2, 3, 4. That's 2. and then you just repeat that for the entirety of the chorus. I think you go through it 2 times. So the tone for this is really going to be an ambient clean tone. So you're going to have basically a big reverb on, and I like to use an 1/8 note delay that's set pretty ambient. So higher mix and a lot of repeats on the 1/8 note, and that delay is going to kind of play in between where you move. And it's 1/8 note, that's important, not dotted 1/8, not quarter. Okay, that's 68 BPM. If you play it at tempo, it goes like this: 2, 3, 4. Keep playing it until it's out. Now for verse 2, there's a couple ways, depending on the version that you like to play or what you want to do. I think in some versions of the song, there's just kind of like some ambient swells during verse 2. On the version I like, there's a little picking part that's sort of arpeggiated. So we're capo 1, so we can play key of G chord shapes to be in the key of A flat. And it really just kind of centers on the D, G, and B string. So if you form this G chord right here, you can play this part. So that's it. So to play that part, you kind of, like I said, arpeggiated. So the first is open, open 3. That's on the DGB. Then take your pinky. If you haven't done this before, or if you're kind of new to electric guitar, this can be a weird shape to play, especially into like your pinky not to mute that G string. So practice it. Practice like getting your finger around and not muting the other strings. But the next one's going to be put your pinky on, it would be the 4th fret. It's the 5th fret, but 4th fret relative to the capo. So you're going to go, right? And then go back to open to 4 on the D string to 2. Then you can repeat it. So I'll play it kind of slowly so you can see how, this is at least my interpretation of whatever this guitar player is doing in verse 2. 2, 3, 4. So there you can see, once you're finished playing that little arpeggiated and walk down part, you're right back into the next chorus. Again, it's repeated chorus, so it's 2 choruses back to back. It's the same part. Like I said earlier, for verse 2, I like to stay on that same ambient clean tone with the 1/8 note delay. Once we hit chorus 2, I like to keep everything the same tone-wise, like as far as delays and reverbs, but I'll turn on like a low gain drive. In my case, I'm using the Protein. And then I stay in the middle position, so you're not like really driving hard in the first time through the second time in the chorus. So it kind of sound like this. Then when the chorus repeats, you can go to the bridge. So it gets a little more aggressive the second time through. All right, so now you get to learn the third part of the song. So once we get to the bridge, there's 2 different parts that you kind of play. The first is, I like to think of this as an ambient drone part. So remember what I said, we can form this A flat chord up here on the 13th fret of the D, G, and B strings. So we're gonna start on the this A flat right here on the G string 13th fret. So first I'll show you the notes and then I'll talk about the sound, because the sound here is pretty important. So you start on this A flat chord, or A flat note, 13th fret, G string. Go up to the 15th fret, back down to the 13th. Holy, 12 fret, holy, and then you end on the 13th fret of the D string. Right, so together it goes like this, starting on the 13th of the G. Anointed one who was 15 and is to come. Back to 13, seated on the throne above. Holy, holy. That's what I hear that guitar player doing on that part. There's a lot of things you could do here, as far as, especially when you're playing really ambient stuff, but that's what I hear being played on the album. That's a nice sounding part too. So for this tone, I have kind of a drone setup. So you could go 100% wet. It'll take your note a little bit to come in. So I like to go like 60 or 70% wet with the reverb. I'm using the H90 to do this, but you can do any ambient reverb that lets you go 100% wet will do this. And so really I'm just gonna pick like 16th notes, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, and I'm just gonna let all the effects do the work. It's gonna sound like this on the neck pickup. So bridge, 2, 3, 4. So the second part that you play on the bridge, it actually picks up right before the repeated bridge. It's on the holy, holy. You're actually gonna play a harmony part to the vocal melody, which is really kind of fun as a guitar player. We're getting close to the 80s with guitar harmonies, right? So the harmony part goes like this. Starts on the 13th fret of the high E string. Then you go to the 16th fret of the B string. Then we're back to the 13th on the D or the G string and the D string. So it goes like this. You're really just kind of playing like you can play at this A flat chord right here. You're just kind of playing off of that. That's on holy, holy, and then you're back into bridge 2, and then you'll play the full part. So that's the end of the part. So you already learned the second half of the part. Lamb of God starts here on the, would be the 10th fret of the G string to 13 to 12, all on the G string, to 15 to 13, to 15 to 17, then you play that part. Okay, so I'm gonna slow that down. I'll play the pickup, that da-da-da-da, and then I'll go into the whole part slowly and show you how this goes. Here's the pickup, bridge. That's 13 to 12, 15 to 13, 15, 17, again. That's really it. So the effects are what's going to make this part really interesting. So for the first part of it, you know, bridge 2, or the repeated bridge comes in. For the first half of the repeated bridge, the bridge is actually the same thing twice. So you can think of this as third and fourth time through the progression. You can go clean tone on this. I like to put like that lighter overdrive on. And then the important thing that you hear on this is a POG type of a sound with octave up and octave down. I'm using the H90 for that. Big delay and big reverb, and it sounds like this. Then when you go through the progression again, it kind of picks up, everything picks up, the band gets bigger. I like to turn on like a big drive, keep everything else the same, that pog stays on. Now the last time through it is slightly different because there's a drop. So you're not gonna go up to this. We're gonna go and then back into the chorus. So I'll show you how that goes and then I'll go into the chorus. Now, the way, if you have your effects set up right, so there's, remember this long ambient eighth note delay, right? You end on that note right there. It's the 15th fret of the G string. You'll end on it if you go kind of give it a down like that. You'll get this delay that goes wow 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 wow. It's a pretty cool sound. That's my best interpretation of it. All right, so I'll play that part again. This is right before the big chorus, and we're gonna hit that drop and let our effects do the thing during the drop. If you want, you can set something up so that you don't have any effects going if you want there to be a full stop drop. But this is how it would sound all together. And at this point, I'm just kind of like, I'm on one string, but I'm playing the 16th. So it gives it more aggression. Here goes. So on that last chorus, I've got my biggest sound that I'm using in the whole thing. It's that Rev G2 pedal. Everything else is kind of the same, ambient delay. I don't have the big ambient verb on for this. The delay is doing a lot. So with this much gain, you really don't need that much reverb, although you could do it if you wanted to. You play the same thing as I just demonstrated there. At the end, there's sort of a tag that happens at the end, right? So you play this last line. There is no one. You can kind of stay here and play everything the same. You're really gonna do this. That's all you're doing. Again, we're forming this A flat chord on the 13th fret of the D, G, and B strings. And so you can go on the G string, hammer on from 13 to 15, back to 13. So 13, 15, 15, 13, and then go on to the 14th to 13th of the B string. So it makes that part. I'll slow it down. You can really end on any A flat that you'd like. There's one, there's one, there's one. They're everywhere. So let me put that all together with the big tone, show you how it ends. So you end there on that A flat. If your band wants to end like on a 4 chord on a C relative to this capo here, you could do that. Of course, the A flat would still work on top of that. Or either way, whatever way you guys would like to end in your worship team, you can facilitate that with just this note. It works pretty much on top of all of it since it's the root. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about this, let us know in the comments. If it's something we can help out quickly, of course we will. Again, links below where you can download all the presets and see all the resources for this song, playthrough videos. I'll link to where you can get chord charts if you're interested in something like that for your worship team. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. and we'll see you in the next one.